Live production, it never goes exactly how you've planned it, even though you've planned it for days and weeks. There's always something to go on, but the show must go on, as we say. So I'd like to welcome my distinguished panel with me today. Our topic is one of interest for many of us on how AI, first of all, has been introduced in a very big way, and second of all, how it can create a sustainable future, which actually I'm very interested in listening to this discussion that we're gonna have, because I'm interested to hear about how AI can create a sustainable future. So these are my guests. As you can see, their names and titles are behind me. I'm gonna kick in straight with Sam and speak about what we spoke about via email on different ideas of how AI can create a sustainable future. You spoke about recent developments of AI governance at the United Nations regionally, an inclusive AI approach to governance and international policy coordination. Can you explain to us and elaborate further on this, on policy coordination and how it's essential for a sustainable future?
Yes, certainly, and it's a real privilege to be here today. Thank you for the invitation. It's been an exciting year at the global level on AI governance. We've had in New York the recent UN Summit of the Future, an agreement on a global digital compact. It's building on the ITU's work on AI for good and UNESCO's work on ethical AI principles. And also, I think you saw some encouraging things at the political level in the UN General Assembly. In March, the United States put forward a resolution on AI safety governance and was supported by China. And in turn, later in May, China put forward a resolution on AI capacity building in the world as a whole, and that was supported by the United States. But as we move from the level of the roadmap and principles at the UN into a pathway towards standards and regulation, the picture is more mixed. A number of the main cross-regional initiatives outside of the UN, such as that of the OECD, the G7, the Bletchley and Seoul summits, a number of them did not include China, and China's felt that it prefers the UN as a format for agreeing AI standards. And also, it didn't include, importantly, a large number of developing countries. In fact, if you take the top 7 non-UN interregional agreements, 118 out of 193 UN members were not party to any of those 7. And that includes 48 of the 54 African countries, 44 of the countries of the Asia-Pacific region. So inclusiveness in AI governance is absolutely crucial. And including China, to avoid a breakdown, a bifurcation of technology standards. The UN Secretary-General's High-Level Advisory Board came up with some recommendations, partly reflected in the Global Digital Compact, to try and create a more inclusive global AI. And that includes establishing an international scientific committee, a fund for capacity building in developing countries, a policy dialogue, an international standards exchange, and a global AI data framework. I think the last thing I would say on this is how wonderful it is to be in UAE at this time in the evolution of AI governance, because I think the UAE can be a crucial bridge builder, both between East and West at this time of geopolitical tension, and between North and South at this time of mistrust. Not only is the UAE a member of the OECD, it's got a new partnership with the United States of America. It participated in the Bletchley and Seoul summits, but it's also a significant investor in the Belt and Road Initiative. It's a member now of BRICS Plus. It's a member of CISA. It's a partner of ASEAN, a partner of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. The one other aspect, I think, of UAE's contribution is cultural. To have a sustainable AI requires a broad cultural input. Because if you think how AI is likely to change humanity over the next 10, 20, 100 years, it will shape every aspect of our commerce, of our communications, of our scientific endeavors. So it's so important to have the whole of humanity's cultural diversity reflected in global AI. So the UAE, through the Falcon large language model, built from the ground up in Arabic, in 4 dialects of Arabic, and expanding in a number of African languages, makes a crucial contribution to ensuring that the AI of the future, global AI, will actually reflect humanity as a whole. Thank you.
Interesting. Thank you very much for that insight. Amal, let me go to you on what role AI can play in a green circular economy. You're from the Moroccan International Center for Artificial Intelligence. We'd like to hear about your opinion on how it can play into the green circular economy.
Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm very happy to be here. Assalamu alaikum jami'an. First, before answering your questions, I would like to add something about this scientific work that will take place in UN. We have been signing a Declaration of Manhattan last week at the Summit of the Future. You can find the declaration on the website of the people that signed, but in particular, the leader was Mila at Canada with Yoshua Benshu. And in this declaration, the most important thing was that how can we understand AI altogether in the same way? The problem with all this AI Act in Europe, different from United States, different from China, comes also from the need for different countries to represent their vision of some values that can be supported by AI. So I think these differences cannot be just passed like that. We should have a global understanding of things with respect to all the cultures, all the languages, etc. Next week, the end of this week in France, I'm invited to the Summit of the Francophonie in Paris, no, not in Paris, but close to Paris, to discuss, for example, the place of French language in the new development of tools with the generative AI, mainly based on English language. So there is awareness over the world that nobody can do it alone. We should go together. And this is why we need to have this global understanding and global mutual respect for cultures, languages, etc. So this is just something to add. For example, 2 weeks ago, there was a very nice summit in Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh, GAIN summit, for people who attended, and they propose a new kind of ChatGPT, but new tool called Allam, which targets Arabic language. So this is just to say that many people around the world, there is this awareness that it is important to onboard everybody in this AI revolution. Now, if we go back to the economy summit, which is our subject today, I think that AI can help in many, many, many aspects. The first one could be how AI will upskill people to deal with new technologies. And in this aspect, in this perspective, you can think of all this men and women empowerment thanks to generative AI, for example. You have these tools to how to go from text to speech, from speech to text, this vocal interaction, social robots, etc. All this can be used in the context of enhancing economy in all domains. Now, more specifically, AI can be used, AI seconded and supported by data, can be used to optimize the processes, can be used to predict situations, can be used to simulate things, etc. So now we can find AI used widely in industry. There is a new concept called Industry X.0, Industry X.0, or the industry of the future, that rely heavily on AI and data to improve production, simulation, optimization. What do we improve? What do we optimize? We optimize, for example, the traveling. We optimize the processes of production. We make proactive maintenance. In supply chain, for example, we proved in projects in Morocco that with proactive maintenance, we can save 47% of not only energy, but also money, because when your chain just crash or stop, it's a huge problem in some situation in heavy industry. And using AI, using data you collect from the execution of your chain, your supply chain, you can prevent all the problems that will occur in the future or in the near future, and we can repair before the crash comes or before the fault be visible. So there is something, maybe we can come back to industry and this in the second question, but what I would like to say here is that from technical point of view, we need to develop frugal AI because AI also consumes a lot of energy. If you look to the data centers, for example, they use huge, massive. We talk about big data or massive data. So it's question of storage, of retrieval, of etc., processing, computation, and all these things can be, with frugal AI, done in a very optimized way. For example, in some situation, we can deal with a very small data sets that are very accurate instead of scrapping the web, for example. And if you have better answers, you have better outputs, and you have a better consumption of energy, low consumption of energy. We can also imagine that your algorithms are optimized in some way. So we can optimize the algorithms of AI in order to optimize the processes of the supply chain. So it's not disconnected. You can use AI to have better results, but you can also think of frugal AI to be performant and efficient. I think we can come back.
Yeah, we'll come back to that because it will lead to the next question that I have for Mr. Mohammed Al Rais. From ENOC, using AI to create a sustainable future in oil and gas. This leads right into your question. You're talking about industry. Why does sustainability in oil and gas matter?
All right. Assalamu alaikum, and thank you. It's an honor to be here. For us, ENOC, energy is our core business, so it makes sustainability one of our top priorities. Just due to all the pollution, climate change, there are stringent regulation on us. So our vision is to be an innovative energy partner, delivering sustainable value with the industry-leading practice to all stakeholders. So putting that into perspective, to be on an innovative part, AI is one of the topics that enhance the performance, enhance the capabilities of any organization. So what we look at it, we are on oil and gas, but we now consider data is the new oil. So data value, it's a sustainable And it's really something that we need to take care of. So in order to do that, we need an AI technology that can collect data and analyze the data at the same time. This is also for the benefit of sustainable growth. As Dr. Amal said, there is a supply chain. We manage a huge supply chain that we need to monitor and enhance, basically.
Okay. Sorry, did you want to make a comment on this? We were talking about AI accelerating a sustainable economic growth and innovation. How does this support the UN SDGs? This is your experience as a first former officer to the UN Secretary General Kofi Annan. The SDGs are a very important part of this and the sustainability aspect of it.
Sure. Well, the International Telecommunications Union has led UN work in conjunction with UNESCO, UNDP, DESA, sorry for all the acronyms, it's UN Universe, in looking at how the 17 Sustainable Development Goals can be realized, and we're partly because of COVID and the economic slowdown, we are really behind. But AI can be transformative in those areas, including in climate adaptation and in other areas. But there's also, as Dr. Amal Seghrouchni said, the challenge that AI is both on the positive side, but also AI has a potential negative climate footprint as well. There's been a growing number of data centers from 500,000 in 2012 to over 8 million today. A lot of focus has been on the energy used in testing and training of AI large language models. But if we look ahead, there's going to be an exponential rise in the energy, and that's electricity and water, footprint of AI inference, the use of AI, AI APIs and AI agents, so semi-autonomous software that will go and do our bidding. I mean, one example is ChatGPT. If you do a query on ChatGPT, it uses at least 10 times as much electricity as doing a Google search. On water use, water's used for cooling data centers. AI infrastructure is estimated to use soon as much as 6 times as much as the total clean water use of Denmark, that whole country. So with multimodal inference, APIs, and agents, this will go increase. What are the solutions to this? Governance solutions and practical solutions. Well, using renewables to power data centers, and this is something the UAE is really leading on. The UN Environmental Programme in Nairobi have advised that we need to establish standardized reporting for measuring the environmental impact of AI, including inference. We need to require companies to track and publicly disclose their AI climate impacts for both products and services. We need renewable energy targets for AI and data centers, and obligations to create new renewable energy sources, not just carbon offset. And we need environmental risk assessment as part of model training. So along with, as my colleague says, the importance of frugal AI, meaning efficiencies in hardware, in algorithms, and the really neglected area of better smaller data sets based on more accurate data. Now, there's been some excellent standard setting at a global level. Apologies for more acronyms, but the ITU, the International Standards Organization, the IEEE, the IEC, they've all worked on standard setting, not necessarily directly on the environmental standards, but having an impact. And there's also a plethora of global consortium from the Partnership on AI, the Greenhouse Gas Protocol, the Climate Change AI, and individual initiatives by European, UK, and US governments. But this standard setting, we need to move towards globally agreed standards. We then need to move towards more transparent reporting, and we need clear regulation with market-friendly incentives. And there, I think there's a really important role for the UAE, both because of its climate leadership last year and still ongoing on COP28, and its ambition to be the global and regional hub for AI. So this is just kind of thinking outside the box, but I could see a pivotal role for the UAE in the climate AI governance nexus. So I could see it leading a nimble coalition of like-minded states from every region of the world to accelerate ambition on standardizing the measurement of the climate impacts of AI. Perhaps it could work with Singapore and Switzerland, who I know are very seized of this issue as well. But also I would urge to expand to cover every region of the world. So perhaps a partnership with Singapore, Switzerland, but also Kenya, Kazakhstan, Brazil, Costa Rica. And I'm really happy to have any follow-up conversations with people from the UAE and any of those countries after this session.
My question is, who would be the gatekeeper? You know, who's watching over to make sure that these countries are fulfilling these incentives or are fulfilling the duty to get the incentive? I mean, you're talking about something that's literally in the virtual world.
Well, it's not just countries, it's companies as well.
Yeah.
And the nature of AI, the black box in the middle of the AI neural network, is often not very transparent even to the researchers that are using the model. Mm. So I think it's a real challenge for all of us, for publics, to seek transparency and accountability. We often talk about the importance of a human in the loop when we're using AI for medical purposes or for anything financial services, anything that will affect everyday life for individuals to avoid bias or discrimination. But we also need transparency at a global level, where both companies and countries are very transparent about the measures they are taking to audit the effect of AI on the climate.
So switching gears a little bit and going back to the green economy, and I'd like you, Dr. Amal, to take this question. What are the most promising AI applications in the green economy? I find this super interesting when we're talking about sustainability and AI. Concrete examples, if you can give us.
Yes, thank you for the question. So if we think about sustainability and UNESCO SDGs, I am a member of the UNESCO and I am heading a center of category 2 of UNESCO. AI movement is center of category 2 of UNESCO. We work a lot on SDGs and we have a lot of examples in that perspective. There was a paper published by Nature, one of the most famous journals in AI in 2020. And this paper shows that 79% of SDGs can be enhanced or achievable thanks to AI and data science.
Really?
79. So we work a lot on all our research and development are oriented SDGs. It starts by education, training, women empowerment, industry, etc. So now, more generally, I can give examples of things we develop at AI movement, but now I just go to the general aspect of sustainable development. So I think that the most promising applications of AI could be found in renewable energy management, precision agriculture, and industry.
Precision agriculture?
Yes.
Okay.
Precision agriculture means that you have agriculture that is suitable, that is done in a very precise way to meet the expectation. As you know, I think that everybody knows that Africa is considered today as the continent with the potential to feed the world. So what we do in Morocco and in Africa, in some countries in Africa, we put AI in agriculture. This is agriculture, precision agriculture. For example, we will use drones to have topography of the land. We will use some camera to know the precise composition of the soil, etc., etc. And to do that, we need AI, we need data, we need tools. And with this, we can make a very good decision about how we will which agriculture we will put in the area, for example. And we can go very deeply, for example, with OCP in Morocco. We can decide which kind of engrais we will put in the soil depending on the nature of the soil. And all this information can be put in the way we will produce fertilizers for the soil. So this is about agriculture, and also we can manage water, we can have irrigation with more precisions depending on the soil.
So basically, looking at cutting the waste of what it would go into typical farming, for instance,
Yes.
knowing when the soil is ready for the seed and knowing what kind of water to use at what time, so it's cutting back on wastage.
Yes, and we can also use AI to develop apps for the farmers. They can follow their production, they can follow their agriculture, they can follow the climate change, etc. So we can have a very deep interaction between the soil, between the AI, and between the farmer to go ahead with this kind of agriculture. Another thing is that the International Renewable Energy Agency, IRENA, said that renewable energy could supply up to 85% of global electricity demand by 2050.
That's the plan.
85%. So this kind of energy, wind and solar, needs a lot of adaptation because they are depending on the climate, they are depending on the weather, they are depending on many things. And in this setting, AI can follow the variations and help to produce better, in optimized way, the energy. In Morocco, we have a lot of places in the south for wind and solar energy, for example. And Africa is a very, it's a country that can produce a lot of energy in the future if we use correctly solar and wind energy. So there are a lot of work in that sense. And also Morocco has also invested a lot in green hydrogen. I think one of the most important investment in green hydrogen was done in Morocco recently. And we think that we can also for green hydrogen, AI play a lot of great role for the production of this new energy. So I think for your question, I have answered.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So I'm going to go over when we're talking about green energy and sustainability and supply chains optimization. This is what it exactly sounds like. I'd like to hear from you, Mohammed, on the energy and supply optimization for sustainability with AI in specific in your sector.
Yes. So we deal with a lot of logistics and supply chain. So this is our core, one of our core businesses, and we move products from A to B, B to C across lands, ships, and air. So for us to ensure that the products, first of all, let's say the quality of products does not get impacted, we have like technologies like sensors that sense and do the testing on the fly, and we receive such the specs of the products that it's as per our standard. Now moving also making sure that whatever we have released from our storage or terminals that reaches to the destination in the right quantity. Sometimes spills happens, sometimes waste happens in the middle. So this is something that we monitor. And the most good example that we have is on the fleet optimization and for the optimizing the routing for our fleet. So today we have a lot of fleets that deliver to our commercial customers, to our petrol stations. By applying AI, we have optimized the time. We have optimized the number of fleets, the energy that we waste in such deliveries. So we have actually saved a lot in terms of emissions as well.
Give me an example how AI works. Is not how it works, but how it works in particular when you're saying we've optimized time.
So we're moving from preventive to predictive. So it's more of a predictive kind of a thing. It plans ahead of time. The scheduling can happen on the fly. If there is a traffic, it will change that route for the driver on the spot. So he can meet his deliveries on time without wasting any energies. And some of our, we have some mandates, like we should not have like a dry outs in our petrol station. So it should always has that fuel to supply people. Since we applied AI, we had zero dry outs in our petrol station. So it keeps running smoothly, even, I believe, without human intervention as well.
Interesting, yes. Interesting. Sam, let me get back to you on this other question of market-friendly governance solutions. We're seeing a huge increase in global energy and water, and it's expected to rise. AI inference and genetic AI was something that you had spoken to me about on email. Explain to me that, because it's not very clear to me about a market-friendly governance solutions.
Yes, in a way, I sort of addressed that in the last question. You need standardized kind of reporting to begin with, and then requiring companies to track and disclose their climate impacts. I could give some examples of sort of the positive uses of AI building on the other panelists that sort of that point to that. One is the Global Methane Initiative, which has come out of the COP process, whereby the UN Environmental Programme, working with Google and others, have been monitoring, using AI, satellite technology, ground sensors, the release of methane from oil and gas installations, accidental releases often, and you're able to get huge efficiencies in tracking down that gas, which is particularly potent in terms of greenhouse gas emissions. So this is a voluntary initiative, but it's the scrutiny and transparency that bring about the accountability for both countries and companies. I think there's not that much of an appetite for whole new treaties on things, but there is a real appetite for using science to name and shame in some cases companies to do a better job. There's other areas where AI can be transformative beyond what my panel members have said already. I think a key area is the modeling of the atmosphere. There was a great example in the UAE of G42 announcing a project with NVIDIA to do a Earth 2 huge climate modeling using AI. And that mirrors the work of one of my Oxford University colleagues, Professor Philip Steer, on building a digital twin intelligent Earth. So there's a lot of work being done both in academia and in the commercial world in building that up. And if you think what that means, if we can really have an accurate digital twin of the Earth, where we can analyze the effect of weather patterns, we can look at food security issues and other things. Once it's built, you don't need a huge amount of additional kind of data to be inputted. We can do a whole lot of policy making based on a really informed basis. But sustainability is beyond just climate. And I think there was an important question asked by the Secretary General's high-level advisory board on AI recently. They interviewed hundreds of experts from every region of the world and asked them, what do you see the most positive impact of AI in 3 years' time? And across all of the 17 SDGs. And they said, well, that the most positive impact is likely to be in economic productivity, is likely to be in healthcare, is likely to be in education. And climate was kind of around the middle in terms of the hopes. But I think equally, or more important, was the areas they said that AI would not necessarily supercharge in any way. In some ways, AI would in some ways make things worse. And that was the SDG framework to do with addressing inequalities, to do with addressing poverty, and advancing gender equality. So as we design the kind of frameworks, the ethical frameworks for governing AI into the future, I think it's so essential for an inclusive approach to look at the SDG framework as a whole and ensure that when carrying out AI programs and projects, whether through governments or through companies, we are really attuned to whether or not it's inadvertently widening inequality, whether or not it's widening widening the digital divide or bridging it, and whether or not it's actually putting women on an equal playing field with men in both what goes into the design of AI models and also the use cases of AI. For humanity to really advance, we need AI to really reflect all of humanity.
Interesting subject. Ladies and gentlemen, that's about it for now. I think we're going to end our session. We've had about 35 minutes of an interesting conversation on a topic that is very wide-ranging and can go on for hours. I'd like to thank you, my panelists. I'd like to thank you, my audience, for joining us, and have a nice afternoon. Thank you.